Hello everybody and welcome back to Mounties Midweek. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's episode, we meet some new faces on the fall coaching staffs, plus we get reacclimated with two former players back as coaches. The field hockey team started their season in Vermont for the Fall Classic. The Mountaineers were rolling to start their season of redemption. Game 1, the opponent, St. Michael's College. Mansfield scored 3 goals early and in the latter 2 quarters added a pair. Dana Evans had 2 goals and Larissa Motz, Christy Byer, and Olivia Wagner each tallied a goal. Brittany Ryan kept her goal clean as the Mounties win 5-0. Then back on Sunday, this team did not skip a beat. Dana Evans gets the hat trick against Southern Connecticut State. Motz and Byer each had a pair of goals, and Mansfield a smothering 7-1 victory. The team is back in action on Wednesday as they welcome IUP to Carl Van Norman Field. The cross-country squad had their first race of the year on Saturday in Bloomsburg. On the women's side, the Mounties placed 5 runners in the top 25 of the field, with 4 of those runners being newcomers to the program. Lindsay Payne led the way with a second-place finish with a time of 15:52. Lauren Ensminger was 14th with her time of 17:08, while Mackenzie Lamorte had a 17:35, Shelby Alexander, who had a 17:57, and Carly Daniels with an 18:07 crossed the finish line in places 21 to 23. On the men's side of things, Quincy Amabile was the first Mountaineer to cross the line in the men's 6K in 6th with a time of 20:02. Freshman Kevin Heeman was not far behind, finishing 7th with a time of 20:12. While fellow rookies Christian Porter was 13th and Christian Tanner was 14th, and sophomore Ryan Morissette completed the top 5 for Mansfield with a time of 21:46 to finish 20th. The cross-country team is back in action September 21st in Lock Haven. The women's soccer team opened play Sunday as they welcomed Damon. The Wildcats scored twice in each half to get the 4-0 victory to spoil Mansfield's opener. Brooke Loveland, Brianna Murphy, Alexis Biddle, and Corinne Reinhardt all recorded shots on goal for the Mounties. Mansfield faces nationally ranked Westchester on Wednesday before another ranked opponent, Bloomsburg, travels into town on Saturday. Let us now take a look at what else is coming up this week for Mansfield Athletics. Do not go anywhere. We meet those coaches on the other side of the break.
From court to court and lane to lane, under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub, with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
Get in the way and disrupt the situation.
Codify an authority.
Or walk them home safely.
We can change the language around rape.
We can make campuses safer for our teammates, our friends, and our classmates.
We cannot be bystanders.
Taking action isn't always easy, but it's on us
to intervene.
Because we can. Learn more and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. Let's meet some new faces here on campus for the fall season, and that is assistant women's soccer coach Don Tees. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So let's start with what brought you here to Mansfield, and what was really the thing that drew you to wanting to coach this group?
Yeah, well, I think starting with the second question, I think what drew me to this group is I love the rebuilding process of programs. I was at a program down in the middle of Montgomery, Alabama, and the program hadn't won in 15 years. It was a transition from NAIA to Division III, and the program had so much potential. And so we got down there, changed the culture, changed the recruiting style, the coaching tactics, and we had our first ever winning season the second year going, so 14-month kind of transition. And so I don't know if we're gonna do the same thing here, I hope so, but you know, that obvious opportunity to do something like that again, I think is something to go on. The Division II model has been something that I have been interested in. I've been a Division III SID, administrator, head coach, and assistant coach. So I have a good rounded experience overall in the Division III model and what works, what doesn't work. But I wanted to challenge myself a little bit, try to bring some of those tactics from that culture aspect, from the coaching aspect to the Division II model. And with Shafe, with that positive attitude, you know, I think that really meshes well with what he's trying to build here. And so, you know, I thought it would really fit well in trying to rebuild the program here too.
And so what are those differences between the Division III level that you've been at and so far what you've seen here at the Division II level?
Yeah, so obviously compliance is always the one, and just knowing and understanding the rules. It's obviously a more competitive environment at the Division II level, but I love the aspect of working with the student athletes still very much from that academic sense and that whole developmental aspect, you know, as we're going through their 4 years. Do we want to win? Absolutely, no question about it. Do we want to win conference championships and compete at the national level? Yeah, of course. But, you know, at the end of the day, at the 4 years, they're going to go through the process and get their degrees. And, you know, how can we help them through that process? We don't want to hold their hand, but we want to help nurture and grow them and give them these opportunities and ideas and events, you know, to overall grasp that concept of going off into the professional world and being able to be successful. You know, I think the most that I've gotten out of that experience, especially at the Division III model, and I hope to do at the Division II model as well, is when you get those calls after graduation or those graduation cards inviting you, or one of my goalkeepers from previous years had a baby and always FaceTimes me, Leah, with little Andrew. And so, you know, that's important to me. You know, I tell them throughout the recruiting process, you know, I'm the one writing their recruiting, or the recommendations, sorry. And so I want to be invited to their weddings. I better be. And so it's important for me. So that Division III aspect of really working with a student athlete, you can still do at the Division II model, but that soccer aspect and really competing and developing student athletes for the field is very much there, and that really excites me.
And so one of the important things, you touched on it earlier, is that relationship with Shafe. And how important is that? This is his first full year here. This is your first year here. So there's that dynamic in it as well, but also just you two and your styles of coaching, how has that really gelled so far?
I think it meshed well so far. Obviously I came in a little late in the process for preseason. I got here the week before, so it's kind of been, that growing, that relationship process with him. But I think I've taken a lot from his soccer aspect of the game and kind of learning. That's been one of my weaknesses, and not weaknesses, but more of a limitation, something that I can work on. And so it's something that I've taken from him to be able to implement into my goalkeeper sessions, for example, and being able to do that stuff. I do bring that administrative experience, though, specifically, which I can really help tailor, different things that he might overlook and stuff like that. As a head coach, you get really excited, right? First game, going into preseason, maybe you're not thinking of one thing or another thing, but I can kind of be that bridge to fall on for a lot of different aspects of the program that makes it easier for him to coach and to make the girls happy with every single type of aspect, whether it's travel, whether it's game day management. So it's meshed well so far, very well.
Yeah, and so then going from the transition to the coach to the transition with the players, and how have you seen that growth? You mentioned you work very much with the goalies. You have two players on that team who have experience. Of course, with Rachel Fox, who's been here, has seen the previous regime as well as Shafe. So how has she helped? I know she's injured right now, so she can't. Yeah. So she's not in, but has Steph, who has played. But how have you seen her leadership grow thus far?
Rachel's leadership has been extraordinary, I would say. Especially coming into year 5, having 3 different injuries, and her freshman year, she was a first-team All-PSAC player. That's huge to lose over the span of 4 years. So one of the first things I told her was like, hey, how can we give you a really enjoyable final season? Can we get you back so that you're able to play a few more games in your college career? Because obviously you wouldn't have come back unless you really were dedicated and passionate to the program. But she's probably the loudest one on the sideline, right next to Shafe, honestly. I called her a soccer mom yesterday because it was just constantly yelling and screaming from her. And so she gives goalkeepers ideas in the net while she's behind. She still works with the goalkeepers in training as we bring her through the process of rehabilitating and getting her ready. But I think it's helped a lot with Steph and Grace, because Steph's still sophomore, Grace walking on, that's still a young goalkeeper core, to start the first few games. And I mean, we play, I believe Westchester's number 23 in the country on Wednesday. Bloomsburg's ranked 5th in the country, and we play them on Saturday. So 6 out of our 18 some odd games are against nationally ranked teams. And that's a young goalkeeper that you're putting pressure on. So Rachel has been huge in that process of making sure that they're motivated, making sure that she kept that goalkeeper kind of core strong. As she develops and tries to get back on the field too. So she's giving them tips, different ideas, making sure that, maybe if I'm doing something with game day management, perfect example, she can step in and she knows exactly what has to be done, so it's been huge for us.
And then with Steph, obviously, like, we know how good Rachel is and has dealt with her injury. Steph, how do you approach her season to be like, hey, we still love the fact that you're in. We don't want you looking over your shoulder, say, when Rachel gets healthy. We want that open competition. We don't want you to be like, I'm just a fill-in. How do you balance that relationship? And then I guess with Grace too, to have someone who can challenge but know that you're comfortable with whatever you end up, whoever ends up in goal.
Of course. Well, my philosophy on goalkeeping has always been, I want all of you to start. Obviously, there's only one goalkeeper. But if I don't prepare them enough to all be starters, Grace, Steph, or Rachel, then that doesn't allow us as coaches to have the best 11 on the field, especially with that goalkeeper role. And so with Steph, we did play yesterday. It was obviously not the result that we wanted, but we saw a lot of video and we have a lot of feedback now going into the year to see, all right, hey, what do we really need to work on now that we've been in a game-like situation? What can we work on with Steph? What can we work on with Grace? I think that that's super important from all aspects of their goalkeeping, because at the end of the day, is Rachel coming back to potentially start? Potentially, but she's there to compete regardless. So it's between Steph, between Rachel, between Grace, and so we have to keep that goalkeeper philosophy with our coaching, as well as from a player aspect of things, to be able to, all right, what do I need to work on with Grace? What do I need to work on with Steph? What do I need to work on with Rachel that's going to prepare them and be ready to go when they get into a game-like situation? And that's the only way to think of it in that aspect.
So let's talk about that game on Sunday. You mentioned obviously not the result, but what were some of the things you learned about this group in that Damon game?
I think that from us as Mansfield, I think we're learning more of that Division II mindset, especially with a young team of 8-9 freshmen. And, we have a core group of 8-9 seniors. And so we're going to be losing them at the end of the year. So next year specifically, it's going to be a young group. So they need to be able to learn this kind of style and competition level of soccer. I think it's really important for them. And so I think we learned a lot about our mental toughness. I think our fitness is not right there yet, and that's going to just come with matches as they go on. But I think it's important to just keep our heads up and be positive. It's our first game. It's a non-conference. It's a process. I talk about faith in the process. I'm not trying to steal from the Sixers, but it's having faith in that process, that we're going to do the right things in the classroom, on the field, on the practice field, that are going to allow us to develop into something special. Whether that's going to take a season to go into next year, it might. But regardless, it's steps in a process that if we can do those things, if we can do them right and the proper way, then at the end of the day, you'll see results. But it's you got to stay with the process. You got to be simple with us. If you want to be competitive, you got to have that mindset, and that's something that sometimes falls on the players too, not just coaches. We can only do so much. It kind of falls on them too.
And again, obviously, I don't want to react. We have had one game, but if the results don't come early, how do you still keep these seniors to be, hey, we still need you in these games, and what do you have to reassure, or how do you have to reassure that senior class that they are an important part of the growth to this program?
I think it's legacy. The program has been not in great shape for several years. And so with Shafe coming into his second year, his first time full-time, that's important because he has steps to grow the program. But for seniors, we got to give them a great experience regardless of the fact, whether the results don't come over the next several weeks and the several months, how can we give them that type of experience? And, you kind of, I put it on them a little bit as, what do you want your legacy to be when you leave Mansfield University? Do you want to be known as that last senior class, or do you want to be known as that senior class that really started and grew the program to what it's going to hopefully become? I think you put it on them a little bit, that mindset. I think mental toughness is a huge aspect of the game that's just not taught enough. And if you do it the right way and you show them this, that, hey, you're important to us, but we want you to be the start of this important process for us and growing out of this funk of so many years. If we can do those things and get them to kind of grasp and buy into that concept, I think we'll be good for the year if the results don't come.
And then finally, this week, you mentioned that it's a gauntlet of a week for this group. So starting with the Westchester, and then we'll get to Bloomsburg, what are your expectations for Mansfield this week?
Of course, Westchester is going to be a difficult game. We did lose Meg to a red card, so obviously that's going to change slightly our dynamic, whether we play one formation or another. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we have faith in who we may put into that role. And, you're going to see a very similar style, and we're going to just adjust the problems or concerns that we had from the Damon game and try to bring it into Westchester. Defensively, in the middle of the field, we did our job against Damon. We knew that they were going to try to play a diagonal ball, and we stopped that. But it was those second and third options that we kind of struggled with a little bit. So can we learn from those mistakes, and can we use those into Westchester? So Westchester, we're going to be able to scout and be able to see, all right, hey, let's do the exact same thing, but can we do that properly and correct this time. And it's going to be the same thing with Bloomsburg. When we do get Meg back, we'll fit back into the formation. But we've kind of learned now, especially in that first competitive NCAA game, who's ready to go, who maybe needs a little bit more development. And, I don't think the starting 11's kind of set or fixed yet. I think that we have a lot of decisions still to make going into Westchester and Bloomsburg that we weren't expecting to have. So it's a good problem to have. But we just have to work on, what our problems and issues are, who shines in the game, and go from there with both of those games.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you very much for stopping by.
Pleasure.
Mounties Midweek continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
UPMC is a visionary hospital, cutting-edge research, all of the exciting things out on the edge of medicine.
There's a challenge every day, and there's the potential to help. When given the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, that's a tremendous feeling.
UPMC's interest in bringing the best there is in the science and research, and bringing that bench side to the bedside is what makes a huge difference.
Life-changing medicine is not only medical treatment or surgical treatment, but giving patients hope.
From court to court and lane to lane under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub, with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. Let's continue to meet some new faces here on campus as we have joining us the new assistant field hockey coach, Christian Linney. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
I know, no worries.
So let's start. You come from Team USA on the men's side. So what exactly brought you here to Mansfield?
Well, I've been involved in field hockey for a while now, and I wanted to become more involved in a coaching area of the sport, and Mansfield worked out well.
So what are the differences between the game you've come from and here collegiate style of field hockey on the women's side too?
Well, I've been involved in men's field hockey, obviously, for the majority of my career, and I've been involved with coaching at younger levels, but this is my first time at a collegiate level, so the involvement and the depth of arranging and scheduling and administration is a new area for me, which I'm developing.
Yeah, one of those areas that you might be more comfortable with, which was a big change this year for field hockey, is the quarters. So how have you really kind of eased, if there was a worry about that switch from halves to quarters, the fact that you're used to that, so you can really help them kind of develop where to use the energy, where's the points where you have your time to save. How have you really taken your experience playing in quarters to help this team?
So the quarters were implemented to ensure that speed and play of game was developed throughout the entire game. So playing it, you really get the feel for speed of play, and that's what we're trying to encourage with the girls, with the ladies at Mansfield, is to make sure that the gameplay doesn't stop, that we're playing in a nice rhythm with our own tempo to develop their sensibilities in terms of rate of play.
And how do you feel that this team really has taken, of course, this is your first year in here, you're coming to coach. How do you feel the team has really come to listen to you?
I think it's a learning curve for all of us. You know, it's just as new for me as it is for them, I'm sure, to be taking advice and learning from the knowledge that I have from the sport. So we're learning from each other, making sure that we're getting on the same page. Yeah, we're reading from the right book. It's it's been good.
And what would you really describe your coaching style as? Because a lot of people have different things that really they want to focus on. So what is your main focus in your coaching style?
So I'd like to bring an element of communication and transparency to the game. It doesn't need to be harder than it already is, or the way you perceive it. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. The relationships that players might sometimes get confused about aren't so complicated when they're explained correctly.
And this weekend, a heck of a start to this year. 2 great games. The long travel up to Vermont didn't really faze this team. Let's start with that first game, a 5-0 shutout. What were some of the things that really stood out?
The girls did a very good job of recouping after they had very good starts to play after scoring and after playing well. We did a very good job of recovering, and as well as maintaining our gameplay. We developed our own tempo, our own rhythm, which gave a good sense of ownership over our game.
And then you follow that one up right with a 7-1 victory, including a hat trick for Dana Evans. She was on fire, had 5 goals this week, but Christy Byer and Larissa Motz don't want to be outdude. Having those seniors up front who are able to really be a large bulk of this scoring, how is that helping the younger players on the team?
Really well, and yes, very well done to Dana Evans and Caitlin Bodie and a couple of other really good players that pulled through this weekend. They are great leaders. They are setting a very good example for the younger classmen, and yeah, that's all we can ask of them at this moment in time, which is amazing. It's excellent.
So this week coming up, 2 games which are conference opponents, not a conference situation, but IUP on Wednesday, and then Seton Hill later in the week. Let's start with that IUP game. What do you expect in that game from this group?
I am expecting a strong position going into the game to begin with. I think we're going to give them a good game. I think we have got a very strong chance of understanding where we fit in terms of some of the stronger teams, and as well as getting more touches on the ball, becoming more acclimatized to the new team, building chemistry, which is very important for developing gameplay. We'll come out strong, like we have done, and we're going to hope for the best.
And then how sweet is it going to be for that group to be home here on Wednesday in front of a home crowd for the first time this year?
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be good.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for stopping by here.
Yep, no, thank you.
And Mounties Midweek continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
Changing medicine is not only medical treatment or surgical treatment, but giving patients hope.
UPMC brings so much to the table. They're just a comprehensive visionary system.
UPMC is innovative and always on the cutting edge of technology.
Defining not only healthcare, but health.
Its expertise, its focus on patients and what is best for patients.
As UPMC, we're able to elevate the standard of care. Just a wonderful opportunity.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. It's time to get reacclimated with some faces now on the coaching staff. They might look familiar to you. It's Jacob Woods and Tristan Ciccio. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So that transition from player to coach, probably a little easier on you, Jake, because last year, just due to some injuries, you were pretty much a coach with this group. But how has that dynamic switch been for you guys?
Well, like I think you pointed out last year in the awards ceremony, guy with the clipboard, it's been pretty easy actually. A lot of people have kind of helped me out with giving me things to kind of separate yourself from being a player and stepping into a more authoritative, more responsibility style of or role as a coach. So it's been a very good transition. I mean, this is something that I've always wanted to do, so it's been very helpful to have so much advice going through it.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's a little bit different. I obviously played last year. It was my senior year, and we had a great year, obviously, as people know. But I think it's getting better as we go along. For me, obviously, I do have those things in my little things in my back of my mind saying oh, I wish I could still be playing. This would be great and stuff, but at the same time, like Jacob said, I think the whole aspect of having people help me out, having a good relationship with not only him but the other coaches helps out, and having that leadership role and that the opportunity to lead these student athletes into on this team that we both played on, I think is what is and why I love it so much. And like he said as well, I always wanted to coach. It's something I've always dreamt about. And to do it here at Mansfield, at my alma mater, I think it's even better. So I'm excited.
And I think it's also a very unique dynamic, too, with you guys. Is you're coaching players literally a year ago that you were like your teammates. We're just one of the guys, and now I'm officially in charge of you. How do you feel like they have responded to this role for you guys? Is that a tougher transition, you think, for them than it is for you?
For me, I think it's definitely tougher I think it was tougher for them in the beginning. Mm-hmm. I would say as it goes along, it gets easier to, call me coach or whatever, or, whatever they feel is necessary within that. But I think also when we get down to the, X's and O's and things, like when we go and talk in the office, they understand that, hey, look, this guy is our coach, but he also, he knows what he's talking about because he did play with us. But at the same time, I feel like we can have a conversation and communicate better because of the fact that we were players. We played together last year, so they understand. For instance, Sam Tillman and Dante Teresi, I played with them on the offensive line last year. They understand that I know the offense, I know all that type of stuff, and can communicate better with some of the guys because I am younger as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going off of that, the players know that we care a lot about the program because we came from the program, so we're having the program's best interest in mind. And for me, when I was a sophomore here and some of the freshmen were coming in, I was always kind of the stickler with doing things right and always trying to be right with everything. Mm-hmm. So you can ask Derek McLean. They did call me Coach Woods back when I was a player. So, I mean, it's it's helpful for us to be in the situation where we are. I don't only think just for us, but for the team, just because we understand Mansfield and everything that needs to happen within like the on-field stuff as well as in the background. So I think it works well.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially as you mentioned, so the background stuff like classes, you guys know that grind, especially you guys know that Mansfield specific
yes.
Grind. So
yeah.
How does that then transition? And is that, again, talking about transitions, for an easy thing to, if students have issues in class, they need help, that you guys know exactly what they're going through.
Yes.
How much of a benefit is that?
Yeah. I think, especially with how we've implemented things this year, so we are doing classroom checks for all our guys, so to make sure they're going to class, asking questions, sitting in the front row, doing those sort of things that need to be done. I think it's beneficial that we know the classes that they're taking. Like, we have firsthand sat in them. We know the professors. So I think that only benefits them. So when they have questions, we can refer them to them. We can, and I know their office hours, emails, have personal relationships with them for myself. So it just benefits them even more, I personally, I think.
I think we all, like for instance, this morning we had our first breakfast check of the season. Mm-hmm. So having our players of their position come up to us and say, hey, look, we ask them questions like, how's classes going? You have these classes these days, whatever. You have 4 classes, whenever it is. But at the same time, like, hey, you have quizzes, you have like stuff this week. We're checking up on them. But when we look at those classes, we say like, hey, I also took this class when I was, a freshman or sophomore here. Hey, but next time when you're looking at it, hey, this is what you can do to help you. This is, go check out, this book in the library or something, that anything like little tips and tricks. I think we also have, being student athletes here the past 4 years, I think is a huge help, because like I said, we know the campus, we know certain professors, just like he said as well, and we know, for instance, if we have the same major, we can tell them, hey, look, take this class on this day and stuff. It opens up your schedule a lot more. Whatever there's, like I said, it goes back to the tips and tricks that we can of being an actual student athlete.
So let's talk about the actual positions that you guys are in charge of. So let's start with the receivers. Of course, it helps to have the all-time leading receiver here on this group, still here on this group with DJ McLean, but a lot of new faces. So where's that balance? I guess between you and DJ would be a main, because they, in terms of listening, obviously you have the authority as the coach, but with the young guys, how do you feel like they're coming along, especially with a guy to lead from and a guy who also played in the receiver position?
Yeah, well, I think Derek has been a very good help for me, like having a senior, being able to lead pretty much a straight group of freshmen, being able to lead them and to help them get onto the same page as where we need to be has been a tremendous help. Derek is a great receiver for us, and he's gonna, have his yards and have his touches and everything like that. And he understands that we're young, and that guys are not gonna get as many things right from the get-go. But he's been very helpful in working with them, trying to teach them his little tricks that he's done in the past and things like that. So, I've had a lot of help, not just from myself, knowing certain things from playing here, but alumni like Jeremy Estremera, and for those who know Pops, Jason Easter. So they've helped out with some questions that I've had, and some technique tricks and things like that. But I think as a whole, I think our receiving corps should be pretty good. We are fast. We are fast.
And then I have said, I think if you want to know how to coach an offensive line, coach in the sprint football level, because the strategy of just be a bully, be bigger than them, is not an option anymore. So how important, obviously the technique aspect is important, but so what are the things you focus on with your group, technique-wise, to make them successful in this league?
It's really, really, really big on footwork. Footwork as an offensive lineman in this league is everything. for instance, if we go against guys, like you said, they're not bigger than us, they're not, but they could be faster than us. And that's like, you have guys, for instance, even on our roster where they played, receiver or defensive back or whatever, and they're pretty quick guys, and they come down and play D-line or even offensive line in this league. So those guys are quick, and you got to be able to beat them with your feet. And because you may not be able to beat them with your strength or whatever it is, it's all about footwork. And I stress it every day in practice. We start off practice with literally our steps. It's like buried into my players' minds that, hey, look, this is a step, we take this, whatever it is, it just keeps going. I think having, for me, a big help for me, a huge help, honestly, is having Sam Tillman and Dante Teresi, two returners that are, one's a junior and Dante is a senior as well, and they're both captains as well on the team. So I'm the only position coach that has in my group I have two captains in it, let alone even one, But I think that's a huge help. They've been great for me, and also to relay to the freshmen that are coming in or new guys that have transferred in, whatever it is, that if they're not understanding something I'm saying, maybe they can understand to them, and they can reiterate it or something like that. And we're coming along. This past Saturday was a really good test for us. I think we played pretty well, especially against the defending champs, the Navy. But I think we're getting there, and we have a little bit more to go, and some fine tuning and stuff with our technique and stuff. And I think we'll be there. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I was going to say another young group for you. This might be a weird sentence when saying it, but replacing yourself, who's an all-conference player, and then replacing Steve, who was an all-conference guy, with young guys. You mentioned the senior help. But how have those young guys really come along?
I think they're still understanding, playing high school football in different areas, wherever state they come from, wherever area they come from, is it's not the same, not even close. I mean, this league's 10 times faster, obviously. But some people, when they were coached in high school, they may have not even, learned steps. They've never, may have not learned our actual scheme that we run on offense. So teaching them that and making sure that they understand the very simple things, very little technique things that we do every single day, I think is the most important part. But as a group, I think we're where we need to be, especially going into this week, this first game week. I think we still need, like I said, we still need a little bit fine tuning and stuff. But I'm excited because these young guys come to me with a lot of questions, and I love that because that's what needs to be done. If they have any questions, I always answer them. And also the fact that, like I said, it also goes back to those seniors as well. But in practice, our drills are getting crisper. They're understanding everything we do. And I think, like I said, if everything just fine-tune some more stuff here and there, as a whole group, we could be, I think, one of the best offensive lines in the league. I agree. I think that.
And speaking of fine-tuning, you guys had a chance to really see this team for the first in a game situation this past weekend against one of the tougher teams in the conference. So really a good point to look. What were some of the standouts or standout things that you saw in that scrimmage?
Well, for us, I think offensively, we're not really where we need to be at, but we have made a lot of progress where we came from. So we're not at the point where we were last year when we could put up 49, 50 points at a game like Chestnut Hill, where our defense was struggling and kind of continue to just put up points, rack up points, and maybe play in a shootout and win the game. This year, we're going to be defensive heavy. We have a lot of returners on our defense, and I believe that this is our best defensive line we've ever seen and ever had, and it's just a revolving door of people. There are 9 guys on that field that can go back and forth and play, and Coach Jackson's doing a great job with them. But as far as offensively, I think we're going to be there week 1, and I think we will. If we put up in the 20s worth of points, I think we'll be just fine for Caldwell and should come out with a victory there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Our offense is definitely not where we want to be right now, but at the same time, like you said, we've progressed throughout the 2 or 3 weeks of camp very far into what we want to accomplish. I think going into it, it's going to be partially a little bit on me because of our offensive line. We're going to lean on them a lot, especially, it's a little bit of younger group. We got a mix and match. There's a couple guys here and there. You got 2 seniors and a junior that are holding down the group, and then two spots that could be a couple younger guys, whatever. But I think, with that being said, I think our whole offense as a group is finally coming together and being fluent. And I think we're going to really test that out this weekend when we go down to Caldwell, and I definitely think we can, like he said, we'll put up a good number of points. But I think our defense, like you said, our defense, we face the best defense every day in practice. So I think we have a great test every day in practice. So I think it's going to continue to get us better.
So you guys have mentioned it. Caldwell's that first opponent this weekend. Obviously, the part on you guys as coaches, and really the seniors as well, to settle down the guys before the first game that counts on the year. So what are your expectations for this first game?
Win. Right? I think that's pretty much the game plan. Go in there and come out with a win. Caldwell, unfortunately, last year they didn't win a game. Fortunate for Mansfield, though, that they didn't win against us. But I think their record doesn't speak to how they played. They were very competitive in a lot of their games, besides one or two. So they were a team that was better than their record. And for our guys having that test, going up against the defending champs in Navy, it was very important for them to see the speed of the game against somebody else live. So they have those kind of jitters almost out of their system now. So I think that, and going along with our seniors being able to lead them and having them realize this is game week now, it matters. And I think we'll be fine, and hopefully we can come out with a victory against Caldwell. I mean, I don't think anybody here doesn't think we can't. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think going off what he said, I think it's huge. This week's big. This week's very, very big for us, especially first week away. All the first freshmen coming in that are playing for us, it's their first time getting an away trip. I think, like he said, having the seniors overlook them, overshadow them, and lead them is going to be a huge thing. And also us as coaches, game planning, doing what we're supposed to do, preparing them to be ready for this week of play. I think if we execute on offense, and I know our defense is going to play well. We just already explained before. I think we can put up points against them, and I do think as long as we execute correctly and work as a whole unit on offense, I think we definitely will come out victorious, 100%.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Mounties Midweek continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
From court to court and lane to lane under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours. The home of Division II college.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
Get in the way and disrupt the situation.
Codify an authority.
Or walk them home safely.
We can change the language around rape.
We can make campuses safer for our teammates, our friends, and our classmates.
We cannot be bystanders.
Taking action isn't always easy, but it's on us
to intervene.
Because we can. Learn more and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Make sure you pay attention to this entire week to see which plays stand out and which plays could be up for play of the week next week. You won't want to miss that. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.